Once again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining for the session of Azure Power Lunch. As you know, that we record these calls and place our recordings on our YouTube channel. So if you don't want to be recorded, you may want to drop off now. Um, so today, topic of our discussion is kind of exploring the possibility and an opportunity when we extend Azure API management's capabilities to AKS using the self-hosted gateway. Just want to give a quick disclaimer here that this session um, today that we are going to be talking about is not about the kind of some of the not just about the capabilities, but what opportunities and possibilities can be around if we are using technology in a certain way. And with that, so I think everybody knows about. Let me just go forward. Everybody knows about API management and in general and AKS. So quickly, we're going to do a quick kind of a level set. Azure API Management is Microsoft first party um, API manager. So basically, it sits between the implementation and the presentation of the APIs. And some of the key systems that it has is um, gateway, which is the heart of the system, which sits actually does the brokering of the messages between the caller and the implementation of the API, and then you can apply policies. You can basically do rate limiting and all those things there. That's just the abstraction. And then you have the developer portal and you have the management portal, which is a part of Azure portal now. Okay. On what self-hosted gateway allows you to do is it allows you to host this gateway piece as a container. Okay. You can host it inside, since it's a container, anything that can host containers like ACA, Azure Container Apps, or you can use, of course, in AKS, or you can host in third-party clouds, anything that can run container, you can run it. And that's how you extend the API management capabilities into those clouds. Today, we are going to be talking about specifically in regards to AKS. What is AKS? It's Microsoft's version of managed Kubernetes. In this, what we are doing is we are providing a Kubernetes version that runs on Azure. We are managing the infrastructure, and you are just responsible for running your application. In regards to the master nodes that Microsoft controls, worker nodes you deploy your app. So just a quick overview of that. So what are different possibilities that are kind of can happen, opportunities that can happen when we deploy self-hosted gateway into AKS. So first of all, let's talk about what that means. What it means is you have an API management instance hosted in the cloud. That's where you are kind of accessing it through the portal. You are hosting APIs and things like that, and then you have a managed Kubernetes instance. And by the way, it can be uh, um, what we call a public Kubernetes instance, a private, or what we call it the cluster, which doesn't have isolated cluster. It doesn't have any outbound. So completely isolated cluster. Anyway, of that, you can deploy this API management self-hosted gateway in there. Okay. Once that gateway is deployed there, you can uh, at that moment you can do a couple of things. You can basically what we have seen some of our customers doing, and let's go to the possibilities. And I want to give a quick disclaimer here that these are not recommended practices. These are ideas, possibilities, and opportunities that come up based on how customers are using these services. So, for example, some of my customers, or especially one of my customer who are already using Azure API management, they are using Azure API management self-hosted gateway they have deployed into AKS. They are using to control east-west traffic. So what that means is the traffic between different microservices inside AKS. Okay, normally you use service mesh for that, but they are very well versed with API management and they know its capability. So they are using it instead. They're using it for transformation. They're using it for example, um, you know, kind of a metering, these kind of things. So they are using that as a part of this kind of implementation. Once again, as I said, self-hosted gateway deployed into AKS. They are controlling the access to the API, policies, everything from the Azure portal. So that's where you are doing all the administrative stuff. And then this self-hosted gateway running inside AKS is controlling traffic between services and it's doing transformations, metering, things like that. Okay, of course, you're doing logging, all of that. So that's one way. Second thing is one customer, what they're doing, and very interesting, they're using as an ingress point. So they have this uh, API management self-hosted gateway. What they have done is they've taken that gateway, deployed it inside AKS, and did a public load balancer with it. So now this is exposed to the outside world, and they have attached services to it, services inside Kubernetes. So that's how they're end consumer able to access those services. Of course, there's a firewall, things like that. So that's not just the whole story, but anyways, that's how they're doing it. And I know there are app gateway ingress controller from app gateway that you can take advantage of it. There's app gateway for containers, which works very well with this scenario. But that's how they are using this product. And they're what they're saying is their advantage is that they have one point where they can apply policies, they can apply authentication, they can apply, for example, metering, all of it at the API management level inside AKS before even at API, uh, instead of like bringing the APIs out and then applying those policies. So they're doing it inside. And so that's once again, this is a possibility, opportunity to see like how this scenario pans out, and depending on your organization, it's worth taking a look and see how it. So it's not like it will work for every organization, but they are very well versed with API management, so they thought why they can't use the same capability at the directly at the ingress level. That's how they're using it. So today demo, we will see like how you can do it in AKS and kind of a quick uh, demo of it. So any questions so far? Okay, folks. So what we're going to do is, first of all, let me show you what we have. I have a, okay, let me just connect here. Connect here. This is, I have deployed an AKS cluster in Azure, and I have deployed an Azure API management instance. This is my Azure API management instance that is there. And then there is an AKS cluster that I have deployed. Let me just go in here for that. This is the name of the AKS cluster. And what I have done is I have deployed a very simple app on it. And let me show you that app. So first of all, let's do a, let me see if I can do it in the history. Yeah. So this is the this is the app. It's deployed in this AKS API namespace. It's a very simple weather app. And in order to see what's going on in that, let's go into this app and let's do a curl on this. So this just print out simple weather forecast, nothing fancy, because that's not the point of the demo. So this is an API that is hosted in in AKS. And now what we are going to do is we're going to expose this API through self-hosted gateway. Okay, so let's do that step by step. So first of all, let's this is the API that hosted in AKS. Now let's go into um, our API management, and we are going to go to the APIs. As you can see, there are some APIs running, but we're going to create our own API. So first of all, let's go in and define an HTTP API, and display name is API. We're going to call it AKS demo API. This is the URL. And by the way, just keep in mind we are using HTTP. It's not a demo, so it's just a demo. It's HTTP API. And I'm just going to do full this one. Oh, by the way, where this name is coming from. As you can see, the name of the API is Weather API. If you can go in here, the service, this is the name of the service is Weather API. Okay. So the way you derive the name in AKS is the name of the service, name of the namespace, and svc.local, the cluster.local. And that's that's the full URL. Okay. And in regards to the regards to the URL prefix, that's the prefix that we are using, and that's pretty much it. That's what we're gonna do, and we're gonna create it. We're gonna make one more change. We're gonna add a method to it. Okay, so we're gonna go in here, and we are just gonna say weather forecast get method slash weather forecast. So that's our method. Display name is weather forecast. Okay. So let's save this. In terms of settings, let's go in one more time and make one minor tweak. We are going to say that does not require any subscription. We are using it as an AKS. It's so at this moment, any authentication we are going to do based on auth later on. But at this point, we're not going to be using subscription for. And by the way, the subscription key. So we are not going to get into that. Okay. Now let's create a self-hosted gateway. So we are going to name it AKS gateway. Location. I mean, you can give any location. This doesn't matter. This in this scenario, we can just say local because this location doesn't matter. This is just a placeholder and description, whatever you want to give it. And once you're here, now you can pick different API. These API will be attached. Just keep in mind that the way API self-hosted gateway works, that it's going to ping continuously back the API management and request, hey, send me the data, send me the updates. And as it gets the update, it populates it cache, and that's how it functions. Okay. So it does not store anything, it does not store anything inside. It basically just caches the information. So your main configuration still stays with API management, as we saw in the diagram. Okay, we have created, as you can see, there are 0 instances running. So now what we are going to do is we are going to go in here and we are going to look at the deployment. And this is the way you can, different ways that you can deploy. You can deploy it through Docker, you can deploy it through kubectl, or you can deploy it through Helm. Okay. And I think we're going to use Helm. So these are 3 steps that you have to take. First of all, you have to add Helm to your repo. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to paste. This is, since I've already done it before, as you can see here, the repository is already there. Let's do the help update. So it's all updated. Okay, so this is now the update is done. Now we are going to deploy the gateway. And let's take a look at the command. So first of all is it's setting what is your parent gateway. This is the configuration that it's going to be accessing. There's a gateway authentication key. Just keep in mind you can change the key. If refresh it, all of that is there in the gateway setup. Okay, and with that, it's gonna install the gateway. Just give it a second. So gateway is installed. So what we're gonna do now is let's do a quick steps to see what deployment that we have done. Okay, as you can see, these pods are still coming up. Um, there is a service that is created. This is the service. This is the I mean, this is the Kubernetes service that's always there. This is the service that it created. So the pod is coming up. So let's refresh it one more time. Let's see if the all pods are running. There's still one pod that is not ready. So let's wait for it to be ready. Okay, a second. Since it's a demo, everything is a bit slow. But in any case, so what we're going to do is, since we have now done two things, we have deployed it inside the AKS. We have the gateway, and the gateway has a service attached to it. So we should be able to access this service now inside the gateway. Okay. So what we have here is a very simple pod, an Nginx pod that I showed to access the core service itself. So now let's see if we can access the service through the same service now through the app gateway, API management self-hosted gateway. So the way we are going to access it is this is going to be the full URL. And just keep in mind, the service is available on 8080. It's not available on 80. It's available on 8080. Okay, so now all pods are ready, so we should be able to access the service. We're going to do a curl, and this is our, oh, sorry, give a second, curl. This is the, let's get the URL of the service. This is where the service is running 10.0.1.189.4. And the port is 8080. So let's, if you try to call it, there is nothing running over there. Actually, the service, if you remember, we have, let's go back here in the services and let's get the, and we are going to go in here, AKS demo API. We are going to go get the URL suffix. So let's go to the settings, the URL suffix. Let's see what that is. The URL suffix is AKS demo API. So let's go back here and add the AKS demo API slash weather forecast. Hopefully we spelled everything right. Here we go. So now you are getting this forecast um, information out of the API through the API, through the self-hosted gateway. So think of it, the API is hosted. You can access, we showed you access the API directly, and now we are accessing it through the self-hosted API management gateway. Okay. Um, so let's say that we wanna, I mean, this is for internal consumption, you can do it, all of that. But now let's say that you wanna expose it externally. Okay. How you will do it through a load balancer. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go back here to our deployment that we made, and we're going to make some quick changes. Okay? And the change would be that we are going to So what we're gonna do is we're gonna change the service type to load balancer. So it does um, basically it's gonna create a public load balancer. That's what it is. Okay. So load balancer, and we are going to go back here. We are gonna say instead of Helm install, we are doing a Helm upgrade. So it's gonna upgrade it, and it's gonna just create a service type of load balancer. Okay, let's run it. Okay, so let's check out. Once again, we're going to check the pod. As you can see, just on the screen, this is pending. So this is the public IP that we are going to wait for. So let's quickly do that. Okay, so now we have the public IP available. And what we can do is, let's see if we can access it through now this public IP. So I'm going to open a browser here, and same thing. AKS, same thing, 8080. So this is 8080 slash AKS demo API slash weather forecast. Okay. Did that? Look, this is the, so now we are exposing this service externally. I mean, this is a very simple service, but you get the idea. You can have more complex services. And what is the power of this thing? Now, what we can do is we can go back here and we can apply certain policies here. So let's say we go back to design. This is the um, this is the method, and we can add a policy. Let's say a rate limit policy. We can say only 10 calls for 5 calls, let's say, for 60 seconds. Okay, that's what we say. So this is a 5 call for 60 seconds. And once we apply this policy, just keep in mind, it is not immediate that the policy is applied at the API management level. When you are doing the self-hosted gateway, it takes a few it takes almost 10-20 seconds. So let's go back here, and if we keep refreshing it, you see it's coming up. And at some point, once the data is synced up on site, you will see a 429 error. And that will tell you that, this is basically at this point, and as I said, it takes a few seconds to sync up. So just, yeah, it may take, I've seen sometime it takes more than 10 seconds, because I think it's the way the mechanism work. But at some point, you will see this policy being applied to it. So you will see that it will start showing 429 and telling you like, hey, try it in like a certain amount of time. Let's see if I pub demo, yeah, the policy is there. So, okay, you get the idea. Sometimes, like, that's the challenge with live demo. I was testing it a few minutes ago and it was working fine, but now it is. Uh,
Yeah, sometimes you have to. Did you make sure you saved the policy, Naveed?
yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I saved it. Yeah, saved the policy. So let me just double save it. I mean, let me go back, settings, come back to design. Yeah, the policy is there.
Hmm.
I mean, this is what I have seen is. By the way, I'm using the developer instance. So that may be because developer instance, I have seen some unpredictable behavior. On the other hand, premium instance, which is, I have seen kind of a much more consistency.
Hmm.
That's interesting. Okay, but any case, you get the idea what it is. I want to show you one more thing here, which is a completely isolated AKS. So the advantage now is that if you have a completely isolated AKS instance that you want to expose, either APIs from out from whatever the hosted in AKS, or you want to use the self-hosted gateway for interaction between the APIs inside AKS, you can do it. A few things: you have to use a private endpoint for the API management gateway. Second, you will have to use a private DNS zone, to make sure, because the only requirement the self-hosted gateway V2 has is it should have a line of sight to the APIM FQDN. And it doesn't matter. It can be a private endpoint, but then you have to use a private DNS to give that line of sight to access it. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it. Just one last thing. So this is basically, that's where I have hosted a, so this is a different AKS cluster. It's a private AKS cluster, and I have a VM deployed over there in one of the VNets. I have another instance of APIM. This is, I want to show here. Sorry, this is the private VM. So this is a private other, sorry, private APIM gateway that I have deployed, and I want to show it here that you can basically, once we get into it, and if you want to call it, so this is accessing this the APIM inside an isolated AKS cluster. You have a self-hosted gateway, and you are accessing your APIs through that self-hosted gateway inside an AKS cluster. So basically, I mean, it works beautifully there as well. That's pretty much it. Any questions?
No, this was great. Thank you, Naveed. And I do have to jump to a customer call. Uh, would you happen to have like um, a link to like a Microsoft Docs that kind of walks you through your tutorial here? Uh, so if,
Yes, it will be in the presentation. So if when we publish the section, there's a slide deck. In that, all the documentation is there.
awesome, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, appreciate it. Take care.
Great day, great weekend. Thank you, guys. Have a great weekend. Bye bye.